This episode is brought to you by Progressive, home of the Name Your Price tool. You say how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. It's easy to start a quote. Visit Progressive.com to get started. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Hey everyone, Jody Avergan here. Happy New Year to you all. We are getting back in the swing of things for 2024 over here at This Day headquarters. We'll be back with a brand new episode on Sunday. In the meantime, if you heard our last episode about the Idaho beaver parachute drop of 1948, I will never get tired of saying those words. Well, if you heard that episode, you heard me make a passing reference to Dwight Eisenhower's very strange and kind of messed up relationship with the squirrels on the White House lawn. So I figured we'd drop that episode we did about that. Call it a little rodent mini-series here to start the year. And in the meantime, as you wait for the new episode, sign up for our newsletter at thisdaypod.com. Grab some merch to refresh your wardrobe for the new year. And yeah, we will be back with a new episode real soon. Happy 2024, everyone. Hello and welcome to This Day in Esoteric Political History from Radiotopia. My name is Jody Avergan. This day, March 15th, 1955, an article appears on the front page of the Washington Post underneath the headline, White House Squirrels Being Deported for Taking Divots from Putting Green. Every single two-word clause in that sentence is quite remarkable. So this is a story by United Press reporter Merriman Smith, who broke this important story. It was Operation Squirrel. And, mind you, March 15th, 1955. It wasn't the busiest news day, but there were still other important stories. I went and looked at the front page of the papers for that day, and there was some Cold War stuff going on, and McCarthy was out there doing his thing, and, but the battle that President Eisenhower had his sights on, the one he was engaged in, was against the squirrels that had invaded the White House. So here to discuss why the president has finally decided to take care of the squirrel problem and a little bit more in the history of rodents at the White House are, as always, Nicole Hemmer of Vanderbilt and Kellie Carter-Jackson of Wellesley. Hello there. Are squirrels rodents? As I was reading that.
Sure.
As you were saying that, I had some questions. First of all, hello, Jody. Second of all, I feel like we've covered rats and possums. Now we have some bushy-tailed creatures. And Kellie, how are you feeling about that?
First of all, hey there. And also, I'm super happy that we are not talking about rats. Squirrels, great. I can deal with squirrels. Squirrels are cute.
But I wanted to get that word rodent in there to start.
I don't like, anytime you say rodent, I squiggle a little bit. I just don't like rodents. So maybe they're not a part of the family. I don't know. I think they're too cute.
Well, technically they are rodents, but they're much cuter. But they have no place in the White House. So let's talk about this infestation or whatever you want to call it. What do we know? Why are the squirrels becoming a real problem at the White House? There's squirrels everywhere. Why has this reached such an important juncture?
It reaches an important juncture because Dwight Eisenhower is a golf addict, really, is the problem. Mm-hmm. This is how the president spends his spare time. And unlike, later loser presidents who have to go off to golf courses that are elsewhere, he's just like, what if we made a putting green on the White House lawn? And they do this, and it turns out to basically be kind of like a squirrel buffet. They see all that nice green grass, and they go to town.
Yeah, and people are also feeding the squirrels tons of, peanuts, whatever squirrels eat. I don't know, probably pieces of bread, whatever. But they have a constant food supply. And so wherever you're going to have a constant, steady, sure food supply, you're going to get squirrels all over the place. And so the White House is a little inundated.
I'm imagining they're eating little tea sandwiches.
Yeah, I know.
Out of the White House lawn.
Well, tea and crumpets.
But think about the actual context here. I think many of us have been to D.C. and seen the White House. We have a sense of it like it's the equivalent of being born into the Vanderbilts or whatever. Like if you happen to be a squirrel that gets born into that family, it's generations of your squirrel family. Just like that's what you think normal life is. You're just on these pristine grounds. There's people in suits walking around. Harry Truman would feed you. Throughout the years, like the squirrels at the White House, where it seemed to be relatively well taken care of, at the very least abided, and sometimes taken care of by the staff, until Eisenhower comes along. So Eisenhower, builds this little golf facility. The squirrels are I don't even have a sense of what exactly they're doing. They're just kind of in the way. Maybe they're digging a little
holes.
A few things.
Gonna dig
but
holes.
it's not like
nuts.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like Caddyshack, right? Where that's a badger.
That's a gopher.
Yeah,
A gopher. Right. But it's not that bad, right? But I do have a sense of Eisenhower as the Bill Murray character.
Or chipmunks. Chipmunks do that too.
I think there is like a certain feel of these have become my nemesis in a way. Like my dad used to have this when it came to squirrels in the yard, where he would just like sit by the window and stare out the little slats in the blinds to see the squirrels, and he'd get so mad when they were eating the bird food. He'd run out and yell at them. I feel like that's Eisenhower.
Squirrel.
So Eisenhower, I love that. Eisenhower tells his valet, who would his most trusted associate, quote, "The next time you see one of those squirrels go near my putting green, take a gun and shoot it."
Yikes.
So, the Cold War is cold, but the war against squirrels is very hot in the mid-50s here.
Eisenhower, who is a general and is used to telling people to go shoot things.
Yikes.
Right, yeah, he's
Squirrels
probably like
don't have a
going deep
chance.
into the archives to look at how like Charlemagne and other great generals, Caesar and others, sort of attack this. He's reading The Art of War and so forth. To really consult on how to
But
approach
is
it.
this true that the White House snatched a squirrel, tortured it, recorded the noise of the tortured squirrel, and then tried to play it in hopes of scaring off other squirrels? Please tell me that's not true. Please tell me that's like apocryphal.
Okay, I look, like I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this tidbit, and I just want listeners to like actually pay attention to this. What Kellie just said. One of the techniques to get rid of the squirrels was they took a squirrel, tortured it, recorded the noise of that, and played it back in order to scare off other squirrels.
Gosh.
What the fuck?
That's monstrous.
Barbaric. It's barbaric.
And so now I'm like, this really is a Cold War story. Like we've done the whole like Family Jewels, PSYOP, Cold War. What's the NSA up to? What's this mind control? Like it started here, mid-50s.
Listen,
squirrel
people are
torture.
trash.
Clearly,
They are, but
Clearly
also
this-
weren't we signatories to the Geneva Convention?
clearly these techniques, these like mental torturous techniques, weren't simply used for squirrels, right? I mean, clearly,
no kidding.
Somewhere in the world, somewhere in the ether, amongst the most important people in this country, was the idea that this was a tactic that was available to you that you would just think of top to mind. But it is crazy. They recorded. Is that tape? Oh my
God, I don't even want to hear that.
Is that audio still out
that
there?
goes in the same pile as electrocuting elephants. To me, that goes in the same pile. It's.
But to play it back as a psychological warfare device is even next level for other squirrels.
Yeah.
So they apparently try this, and a biologist who then they bring in to sort of evaluate the situation says, "That's not going to work. Like, what the hell are you doing? What you should do is relocate them." There you go. Take the squirrels and move them.
You're used to hearing my voice on the world, bringing you interviews from around the globe.
And you hear me reporting environment and climate news. I'm Carolyn Beeler.
And I'm Marco Werman. We're now with you hosting the world together. More global journalism with a fresh new sound.
Listen to The World on your local public radio station and wherever you find your podcasts.
As I was reading this, it unlocked a memory for me that I had of my dad when I was growing up in the D.C. area. We had a yard that he was similarly obsessed with, and possums kept showing up in the yard.
Oh,
and
Kellie's nightmare begins.
I know.
We tried a number of techniques to get rid of them, and I don't think there was ever... he never tried to Havana syndrome the possum. but I have a distinct memory of eventually what we tried to do was relocate them and capture them. And so there was a cage that we bought and we put it out there at night with a little food in it. And the next morning we'd come out and lo and behold, there was a possum there. And possums, very ornery animals. But I had this memory of taking the possum before I'd get dropped off at school. I remember we took the possum, put it in the back of the car. It was like hissing. And but we drove to Rock Creek Park, which is actually where Eisenhower relocated his squirrels to.
No.
Drove to Rock Creek Park, did that thing where we like opened up the cage and like ran back, and the possum like sprints out into the park. And we did it, and we were like, great, we relocated the possum. Next day, another possum.
No.
Amazing.
Next
It's
day,
wife.
another possum.
It's son.
Next day, another possum.
daughter.
Every single day for like weeks, we would put up the trap, a new and yes, that's exactly what I realized. It's like, oh, we're relocating an entire possum family tree from
Cousin
one part
Mike.
of the DC area. Oh yeah, and like maybe word's getting out among the possums. It's
Yeah,
like, hey, you
free
know what?
trip.
Like, yeah, free trip. Like we're going to Rock Creek Park. It's great. All of our cousins are there too. It's like, but I just remember having this moment like, I think we're getting played here. Like every single day we transported a possum to Rock Creek Park. But that is sort of what ends up seemingly happen here. This attempt to relocate them is it's futile, right?
Yeah.
There's just too many squirrels.
There's too many squirrels. There is. I do love that there were some humanitarians out there, squirrelanitarians, who were like, "No, you don't understand. These squirrels have gotten soft eating things like peanuts, and their teeth just aren't strong enough for those hard nuts out there in the world. So they had grown fat and soft off the taxpayers' dollars on the lawn of the White House."
Yeah, there's no way you can keep an animal that climbs trees out of your space. It doesn't, there's no, I mean, they can climb the fence, they can scale the roof, they can jump on another tree. And I don't know what eats squirrels, like do owls eat squirrels, like what its predator is, but yeah,
I think they're top of the food chain.
Yeah.
Probably hawks and things.
You're just gonna have to
but
live with it.
Eisenhower, like he's an army man. He goes out and he gets his guns. And well, we don't actually know if this happened, but there was a leak to the press later on that some of these squirrels were in fact executed, or I suppose shot on the battlefield.
Man.
Right. Yeah. And apparently there were rumors that he also had it out for the pigeons at one point, and there were stories that he would.
I'm
cruise
more
around
on board
in
with the pigeons.
Yeah, but he would cruise around in a golf cart and shoot pigeons with a shotgun, which like whether that's a rumor or what, but like you shouldn't be firing guns on the White House lawn. I think, especially from a moving vehicle. I just feel like that might arouse some questions.
Listen,
Yeah.
PETA is not a fan of Eisenhower at all.
No.
Like he's like the worst president.
And neither are some of the like other people in Congress and some of the press, and they do start to sort of raise a little bit of these questions on a sort of humanitarian grounds and be like, what are you doing? Like, why do you have it out for the squirrels? Why here you're killing squirrels? And it becomes a little bit of a press, and obviously the press loves it, becomes a little bit of a scandal. And for like a few weeks, the press secretary is getting questions about this and trying to dodge them and answering no comment over and over and over until we reach this moment where the news breaks wide open. We get this reporter breaking the story. It does break out in this point, and then they start to get questions. And Eisenhower at some point himself gets asked about it, right?
He does. He gets asked by a journalist from CBS News who's sort of like, we've been remiss in not asking you about this. How about those squirrels? And the Eisenhower suggests they go do their journalistic duty and interview the squirrels and see if they're happy in their new home. And also mentions that he kind of envies their freedom to leave the White House and settle elsewhere.
That reporter, by the way, early Cub reporter, was Daniel Shore, who was, ended up being like a National Public Radio legend. But it just shows you that, like, if you're a White House reporter, you're going to cover some really big stuff, and you're probably going to cover some silly stuff. Like think about all the august reporters floating around out there who had to spend a week. They didn't have to, but they spent a week on Obama's tan suit or the Jimmy Carter rabbit incident thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Some of these stuff just pops
now
up.
reporters are listening to Eisenhower gaslight squirrels.
They're happier where they are now.
So other squirrel rodent stories, as we said, there's been squirrels on the White House for a long time. There was a whole thing about like different kinds of squirrels. Apparently a crew of black squirrels that were maybe from Canada ended up in the White House, and people were worried about that. One of the best stories is that during the 2013 shutdown, squirrels basically just like took over the White House lawn because there was no one working the grounds, right? And I just love the idea of the White House going like immediately feral the moment there's a government shutdown.
Or Michelle Obama's like delicious organic gardens, and suddenly the squirrels are all feasting on them.
Oh man, yeah, those little pesky pests. I mean, they're cute though. I have to say, I don't have problems with squirrels.
Yeah,
So
And they're adorable.
yeah.
all right. Well, we're going to leave it there. If anyone out there has had experience on how to get rid of squirrels, which just strikes me as like Sisyphean at its heart, but nevertheless, if you do feel like you have some techniques that don't involve putting them in cage one at a time and relocating them, and don't involve psychological torture, let us know if you have thoughts about how to take this on, and maybe we'll forward it to the White House.
Or if you just want to send us a picture of you rolling a squirrel up a hill and rolling back down and just doing that day after day, that's great too.
Yeah. All right. We'll leave it there. Nicole Hemmer, thanks to you as always.
Thank you, Jody.
And Kellie Carter-Jackson, thanks to you.
My pleasure.
Support for This Day in Esoteric Political History comes from Odoo. What is Odoo? Well, Odoo is the only software your business will ever need. Featuring a suite of integrated business applications, Odoo connects your business operations together so you can get more done in less time. Odoo has apps for everything: CRM, accounting, sales, HR, inventory, marketing, manufacturing, you name it, Odoo's got it. To learn more, visit odoo.com/thisday. That's odoo.com/thisday.
Radiotopia. From